the TCG could be potentially carrying the OCG financially. The amount of money spent in the TCG is way, way, way more than people spend in the OCG. They can have the OCG be very cheap and having TCG players pay for them. This is a theory, by the way. This is a very tinfoil theory, but I kind of believe myself right now. Another thing that I want to talk about is this tweet. And this is head-to-head battles, if you don't know. Very successful on TikTok and YouTube and Twitch. Very successful creator couple. This is about the price discourse. We've seen a lot of expensive cards being introduced recently. Bonfire, SP Little Knight, Horus, Wanted. I want to establish one thing. I don't think cards should be expensive. I think that a model like the one exists in the OCG, where the top price of a card is much, much lower than even the lowest price in the TCG. And this is a lot of the times due to the fact that they print stuff in different rarities, but it's not only that, it's just a difference of a market. There's no way around the fact that Konami needs to make money in order to survive. But I'm gonna start off with the obvious: cards shouldn't be expensive, and I don't encourage, not that I can in any way, but I don't encourage Konami to keep printing those cards in Secret Rare. In fact, I've actually advocated, and I believe that Konami is actually going to make it right in Phantom Nightmare. I think Populous is not going to be a Secret Rare, but we'll see if I'm wrong or not. Now, there's been a lot of like, Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive, Yu-Gi-Oh is cheap, Yu-Gi-Oh should be cheaper, don't buy these cards, I'm quitting Yu-Gi-Oh, yada yada yada. But then Susu yesterday says, Yu-Gi-Oh is cheap, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh is not. Stop mixing these two. Any hobby, if you want to compete at the highest level, has a cost. Now, there's a lot of comments here. And then there was this giant Skyhawk, which I'm not exactly familiar with who he is. I've seen him around on Twitter. And I also know that following the release of Bonfire and seeing the pre-release price, he decided to quit the game. So Giant Skyhawk quotes Susu and says, "Me when I gatekeep. What an insane thing to post. Dude can't even spell hobby right. The example Susu gives of PC gaming is also extremely dumb." And then Susu says, "Yeah, me who doesn't even play competitive am gatekeeping. It's true. Susu has been banned up until recently from the TCG, by the way." So I can see where Skyhawk is coming from, I suppose. You know, maybe they can't afford the cards right now and had to quit the game because of it, and they're still very frustrated. And then Susu comes in and says Yu-Gi-Oh is cheap. So when do you guys think that Yu-Gi-Oh becomes expensive? That is the question that I want to ask. Well, you say anything outside of locals, I'm actually gonna challenge you on that. If you are a player who, you know, sometimes when you see a YCS stream, there's like YCS in Italy. There's gonna be a lot of Italians there that, you know, made it because there's a YCS in their country, probably pretty close to home as well. They decide to go there, and then there's like 20, 30, 40, 50 people who are either content creators or the top of the competitive field who actually, you know, compete for the world's race, right? They actually try to get world's points. Those are the people that I argue that Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive for, okay? For them, Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive. Why is it expensive? Because take, for example, something that I heard Josh say in one of his, and he's not even necessarily doing the world's race. What they do is that at the beginning of a format or when a set comes, okay, you have some sort of feeling of which decks are going to be good, which cards are going to be good, because you have the OCG. And if you're a competitive player, you pay attention to that, you take notes of that, and you know, and this is what I advocate for, and I've said it a lot in my videos, if you want to be able to make good purchases, it's not always going to be the case because it's not guaranteed, but if you want to make informed decisions and better choices when it comes to the things you're spending your limited amount of money on, follow the OCG and follow competitive meta and follow these combo videos and learn what the decks do. You cannot expect to not put any effort into the game and then have everything handed to you on a silver platter. Now, what they do, let's say Age of Warlord comes out, I am Gabriel Susi, who's competing for Worlds. I will buy all the cards. I will literally buy 2 or 3 SPs. I will buy the Horus package, every card. I will buy the Diabellstar stuff, every single card. I will buy any other staple that might be relevant. And then when the other set comes, I will buy every single thing again. Why? Because, and some people don't do that, I assume. Some people borrow, some people have sponsors that give them the cards. I'm talking about the people who don't, right? Some people just buy, like Josh. He sometimes borrows, but he said, I picked up a Labyrinth deck, and I picked up a Vanquish Soul deck, and I picked up this and this deck, because if it turns out to be a good deck, I need to have those cards, because I'm going to play whatever deck is going to be the best deck in my opinion. And it could be a deck that, you know, I considered playing, but sometimes it'll be like Labyrinth, where he owns a Labyrinth core, which he owned for the beginning, but we never saw him play this at an event. Now, let's put these guys aside, and let's take the tier 2 players, okay? Tier 2 players, that was, let's say, tier 1. Tier 2 players are, I'm going to attend regionals, and I'm going to compete to win. I'm not going to fly out to any YCS, and if there's a YCS in my country or in my region, I'm going to go, because it's a fun experience, okay? For these people, the game is semi-expensive, because they can pick and choose. Let's say I'm probably a tier 2 player, right? I'm definitely not a tier 1 player. Possibly on some days I am a tier 2 player, which means that I will invest in, you know, I actually took a break from buying a lot of cards, kind of like from Cyberstorm Access, because I decided that I'm going to play Branded to its full extent, because this is the deck I love. I know how to play best. I win with, and I can also, on a regional level, feel that it's a good enough deck. So I don't need to invest anymore. I have my deck. Sometimes if there's a staple, Thrust comes out, I buy it. Something else, rarity collection, maybe I upgrade a few rarities and stuff, but I don't invest in buying every single core. Why? Because my goal is to do well at a regional. So the game is going to be selectively expensive for me, but you need to make an effort and learn these things ahead so you can make better decisions. I took the time to be engaged with the game and understand what's going on, so that when the time comes, I will have enough money to buy anything that I would want from the set. It doesn't mean that the prices were justified, but I was willing to pay that price because I understood their impact on the game and what it means for me to be able to play them. That's the tier 2 players. Tier 3 players, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is cheap for. Can anybody in chat name a few hobbies? Maybe a hobby you have, your parents, your friends, a hobby that is not Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's not a card game. I can name a few things. Cooking is a hobby of mine. I grow plants all over the house. It's a hobby of mine. Wall climbing, golf, swimming, football, whether American or not. Lego, collecting anything, sneakers, boxing, Sims 4, watching Eurovision. So all of these, let's take wall climbing, for example, right? Wall climbing, you have to get a membership for a place where there's a wall, right? You probably pay, you know, probably 20, 30, 50, 40 bucks a month to attend this gym. You need equipment. You need shoes. You need athletic clothing. You need, just like, you know, the chalk, maybe you need to pay for. Maybe you need a water bottle. Maybe you need like a pre-workout, a post-workout. And that kind of sums to itself it sums up to a certain amount of money every single month, right? Lego, you buy a few, you know, expansions and you build on that. I could go for an entire, let's say I'm an Ultrageist player. The deck costs around 15 bucks, I would say, the core on a very good day. I get a few extra staples from the rarity collection. I spend about $20 to $30 on the deck in its entirety, and I can go to locals and compete. And if I'm a good player who studies what it takes to win with this deck that I have the budget to, I can also win locals. And with the locals winnings, depending on where you're from, you pull new cards, you can sell them, you can trade them, you can make money off of them. And maybe you can also attend a small regional and also do well there with your $30, $40 deck. And you can do that for a long period of time until you can afford something else. You know, the way I broke it down here is like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, who is actually expensive for. So I think Susu is right. I think like you need to stop mixing between like, I'm going to buy every single deck and I have to buy every single deck in order to stay relevant, and separate that from the person who is not at that level. I know a lot of people on a budget who play the game. It's not gatekeeping from what? What is he gatekeeping this guy from? I don't know how many locals you could consistently win back-to-back weeks with a rogue deck, depending on your locals. but it doesn't prevent you from playing Bimbo. You can play. If you want to win, if you want to be good in any hobby, you have to, if it's a competitive hobby especially, you need to spend money. Nobody told you can't play. Can you afford the $10 it takes to join the locals every week? You can play. And it costs literally 10. I feel like we can understand all of this and still consistently criticize and put pressure on Konami. That's just our interest. I think the criticizing of Konami is fine. I just think that like I don't find this acceptable for me. Like as a conversation between two adults, somebody says their opinion, somebody else says you're dumb, can't spell hobby. There's a difference. I criticize Konami consistently, but on this price discourse, I'm gonna stay firm on the fact that for some people it needs to be expensive, and for other people it doesn't. If you consciously play for the pricing, it means you need to be good in order to get prizes. If you need to be good to get prizes, you need better decks. Konami's ban policy aside, the fact that you can buy a card and it can be banned in 2 days, that's a risk you need to take as an adult. If you don't like this, don't play this game. And this is exactly what he did. He quit the game. Perfect. This is what an adult person does. They don't like it, don't pay the company anymore. Can you withstand it? Can you still enjoy the hobby within your budget? Stay. We got a big one. I think it's a shame that incredibly skilled players are potentially handicapped due to financial reasons. Some decks being more expensive is a natural thing. But if you were to compete with Branded a few months ago without Lubellion or Cartesia running kits instead of Lubers, that kind of sucks. Okay, the OCG has shown Yu-Gi-Oh! Can still be profitable while making the meta. That is an assumption that you make. While making the meta decks and staples affordable. So when stuff like Necros getting their whole deck as short printed secret rares for $2,000 decks was dumb. Hi Gusty, you are new. Welcome to the channel. Now, I will address what you're just saying. I will challenge that. First of all, you don't know that. Second, the physical card game, whether OCG or TCG, is a fraction of the revenue for Konami. Konami's 95% revenue stream is from video games, and I have read their financial reports. If you want to know more, do that yourself. This is how you learn about the game you're passionate about. So I actually read the reports, and I looked at how much of the revenue streams come from the card game. So it's very, very small. It's very small. Master Duel makes a lot of money, and this is why it's prioritized, but still, like, the card game is still getting love, right? Now, there could be, I'm not a financial advisor. I didn't major in finance. I don't really understand that, but I'm saying this as a theory alone. The TCG could be potentially carrying the OCG financially. The amount of money spent in the TCG is way, way, way more than people spend in the OCG. And possibly, for that reason specifically, they can afford, because the business model is different between countries and you know, economies and cultures, they can have the OCG be very cheap and having TCG players pay for them. This is a theory, by the way. This is a very tinfoil theory, but I kind of believe myself right now. I sound convincing. I do sound convincing. Speaking of which, buy some sleeve cheap. No, okay, we'll get to that later. So yeah, it's a weird discourse because some people just stick to the fact that the people who can afford the cards are the bad guys, even though Konami are the bad guys. But I also understand that Konami is a business in a capitalist world, and it sucks. But people are addicted to playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and they will buy the cards. Some of you are here. Maybe it's me as well. You know,